At first, they'll ask you why you're doing it, and later they'll ask you how you did it. This is exactly what I think of when I think of innovation. In the past, I've talked with Lieutenant Colonel Deckard, whose local innovation program alongside the Airmen of the 101st Air Refueling Wing have produced some pretty amazing things to help innovate our day-to-day workflow. But what if there was a way to not only innovate new ideas with gear and technology, but a way to innovate our MAINEiacs? And to trust me, it's already being done. This is episode 51 of the MAINEiac radio show, and I'm Master Sergeant Andy Sinclair. New methods, new ideas, new products. Yes, those can be tangible things for our workforce, but they can also be non-tangible. Let's say maybe finding a way to innovate our airmen through new ways to help develop them. After all, they are our greatest asset. And that's exactly what Chief Master Sergeant Scott Osgood plans to do. He's the Maine Air National Guard Command Chief, so his business is Airmen. And he and several others helped develop the Maine Force Development Program, a tool that allows, well, I'm stealing his thunder. I'll let him explain, because he's here. Chief, thanks for being here. Can you explain to us what the Maine Force Development Program is and what is its background?
Yeah, sure, Andy. And thanks for doing this. The Maine Force Development Program really started as a great thought probably 5 or 6 years ago when Command Chief Moore was the wing command chief, and I was a 9G, and we had several other 9Gs. And, thinking about the way we develop airmen, it's always been fairly consistent. We have our PME, and we have our skill level upgrade training. But, we hear a lot of talk today about, accelerate change or lose. And our adversaries are becoming a lot more closer to our level than we are. So, maybe it's time, and the thought was it's time that we culturally change how we think about how we develop airmen to make them more prepared for future challenges, whatever they may be, make them more resilient, make them more able to make quick decisions in all environments, operational, tactical, strategic, and joint. So how do we get there? And it's going to take a lot more than our PME and what we all learn as basic airmen coming through basic training in our PME. That's the basis for this. But to develop and to coin Brigadier General Mishu's term, he uses the term warrior leaders with this program. And to develop those warrior leaders, we need to go beyond our basis, right? We all learn our Air Force competencies. We learn our leadership competencies, most of that through PME and skill level training. But to really develop airmen into the airmen that this country's going to need in the future, we need to step beyond that a little bit and think about different ways with how we develop airmen, and out-of-the-box ways, how we develop airmen, how we develop leaders. So that was really the origin of how this original thought of a Maine Force Development Program came to be. And it started to take shape about 5 years ago. Initially, we borrowed a lot of information. We're not the first ones, so why reinvent the wheel?
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah, we're not the first ones to realize this. So, why invent the wheel? And there were other states that had some programs going on. They were still in the build section of those programs as well. Some of them had kicked off. So we borrowed what other states had, and we looked at it, and right away we realized that for this to be a successful program, it had to be simple, right? And these other states weren't. When you looked at their OI, they sent me their OIs, and they were 40, 50 pages long, and I honestly couldn't even understand a lot of it. So how can I, number one, build a program that I can't even understand what the operational instruction is telling me? And how can I expect future people to be able to run that program, let alone airmen understand it? So So right away, we began to whittle it down, what we had to begin with. And by the way, keeping in touch with those other states, all of those programs failed.
Really?
Yeah, because there were too many layers in them. There were too many steps.
Yeah.
So we began to whittle away at this and try to figure out what are really the important things. And really what it boiled down to is this program needs to be simple. And it needs to be sustainable, but most of all, it needs to be effective. So how do you balance all three of those things? And so it's taken about 5 or 6 years to get it to that point. And I think we're almost there. We're certainly not at 100%. But, the reason I'm sitting here with you today is we're at the point now where, we're well beyond 80%, I would say. We're probably over 90%. But we're at the point where we're rolling this program out in a beta test. And, the beta test will give us a good idea where we need to maybe tweak it a little bit and adjust to make this the best program it can be. So, the group superintendents, the 9Gs, have put a lot of work into this, as well as past and current command chiefs. And now we actually have a force development team statewide that are, I believe there's 25 people now on this force development team. So there's a lot of effort. There's a lot of passion in this. We're starting to see the potential of what this program can really mean for airmen. So that's kind of the history of it.
So far, even though you guys are in the beta, the beta section of this program development, so the airmen that you have had involved with this, have you guys gotten any feedback?
Yeah, we have a little bit. So we're just starting on the beta, and it's going to be very incumbent on those airmen that are in the beta test, and that's what we're telling every one of them. Hey, we need your feedback. How is this working? How is it not working? We want to know, how do we make it better? So they're playing a very important role, these airmen we have in this beta test. The airmen that were invited into the beta test, so when you do a beta like that, part of that is so that you can draw metrics, right? Because if we were just to open up this program right now to the entire state, we're not sure how many airmen would want to come in. We certainly wouldn't be able to handle all 1,100, airmen if they wanted to come in all at once.
Right.
So we need to phase this in, and the beta test will help give us some good metrics because the airmen that were invited to come into this beta test came out of a certain population of airmen. And they were the airmen that were involved in last year's Airmen Development Summit. So they were Guard Member of the Month winners. They were Outstanding Airmen of the Year, other award winners, and besides that, they were those that were selected as potential future leaders by their squadron commanders. So that group had a lot of high potential already for future leaders.
Right.
And we figured that if we use that group to do this beta test with, then it's not mandatory to them. They all had the option of whether or not they wanted to come in. So right away you start to develop some metrics with, you might be able to draw some lines with what it might look like when you open it up to the rest of the state.
Yeah.
So out of the beta test, which we had, I believe there were 52 airmen in the Airmen Development Summit. 14 of them have come into the beta test. So it was a pretty good percentage.
So what does that tell you guys? What does that tell you when you have people who are already who haven't even seen the outcome or really the positive impact that this program produces? You've got 14 airmen that are willing to step up and do this. That's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, and they're excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, they're not the only ones that are excited about it. We've had other airmen knocking down the door because they've heard about this program. They've heard me or some of the 9Gs talk about this and what it has to offer, and they're really excited about it. They want to come into the program. I think eventually, once we get through the beta test, definitely within FY22, we're going to roll this out to the entire state.
That's cool.
But we've got to get through this beta test with this specific group first, so that we've got the best product we can offer the state. And what we don't want is a huge number in it right now, and then we have to make a lot of adjustments that might confuse people. So we want the program as tight as it can be when we roll it out to the state. And but understandably, there are a lot of airmen that have heard about it that are really excited about it. I talk to airmen a lot, and one of the things I consistently hear is that they wish there was something more they could do to prepare themselves. And it's good on them because, I think most of them are a lot better than I was when I was at their stage, because all I cared about was just being a crew chief and getting a good TDY. But we've got a lot of airmen today that are really thinking about and not just future leadership positions and how they get there and how they prepare themselves for it, which a lot of airmen are. That's a great thing. But this program can also offer, to the airmen, and I always use the crew chief as an example. Like I used to be the crew chief. Hey, that's all I want to do is be a crew chief. I just want to be as good at it as I can. And that's fine. I'll always have the conversation with that airman. Well, you may feel that way now.
Right.
But I felt that way when I was at your stage too, and I wished as I came into a leadership position that I had done something more to prepare myself for it, right? I'd have been a better command chief for my airmen if I'd have done that back then.
Maybe you were thinking about being the best crew chief you could possibly be, but you may not have been thinking about where you might be to make a difference 10 years from that point.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a generational thing? Like, so I have done some reading on our younger generation, these 18 or 22-year-old kids that are coming in. And it's a different. I mean, I feel like every organization, not just the Maine Air Guard, is tailoring and restructuring the way that they develop new employees or new coworkers, because this newer generation wants more. Like that seems to be the common trend, that they want to be challenged.
They do. Yeah,
right.
and that's kind of what I was getting at. Is that I hear that a lot. I'm not challenged enough. Right. I want something more. And so, there's a lot of good that comes out of a program like this, because these airmen are starting to hear about it. They want in already. And, I think you could draw some pretty clear lines with what this program has to offer and retaining those airmen, right? If we're not meeting their expectations,
then why
are they going to stay in the Maine Air National Guard?
Right.
Or if we are meeting their expectations by challenging them and offering them a world of opportunity to make themselves better, then that has strong implications to retention.
Yeah.
Right? So I think there's a lot of good that can come out of this all the way around, out of this program.
I would think one of the bigger challenges that you guys are going to face with this is getting, selling it in a way to get everybody to want to be involved, right? So you've got these 14 hot shots, these rock stars that are willing to step up and take a chance with this beta program. But let's say, for example, you have somebody that is just, no slight on you, Chief, but like is a crew chief that is thinking about a day-to-day mission. Yeah. How do you motivate that person?
So that's, there's something in this program for everybody. And you can kind of think of that as almost two different tracks, right? As for an airman, and maybe you're like that crew chief, or even like I was back then, that, hey, I just want to be a great crew chief. I just want to be really good at my AFSC. This program can help airmen there. We can do that. We can make them better at their AFSC with development opportunities that this program has to offer that are outside of what they would normally get. And then, hopefully down the road, that airman would also consider some leadership development opportunities. That's kind of the other track, right? A lot of airmen are going to get into this to prepare themselves for future leadership positions, and that's really what this program's about. But if we have the airmen that, hey, if that's all they want to do is be a great crew chief, we can make them better.
Yeah.
This program has opportunities that can make them better.
It kind of goes back to that saying, there's always room for improvement, right?
That's right.
There's always something you can be doing. But to be better at your craft and be better at your profession, there's always something different. And so, I think it sounds awesome. So can you walk me through, what does it entail? So if I'm an airman and I want to be a part of this program or see what you guys have to offer, what actually happens?
Yeah. So it all starts in all of these, our OI and our forms that we use to facilitate this program are done. They still need to be officialized, go through an official process, and we're waiting for the end of the beta or towards the end of the beta to do that, because we may need to adjust there. But for an airman to come into this program, number one, they need to coordinate it with their supervisor. And they grab a Form 3. We're facilitating this program right now on the S Drive. So all airmen in the state have access to this program.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can go right onto the S Drive. Anybody can go there. There are a number of folders they won't have access to, but anybody can go onto the S Drive, and on the opening page of the S Drive, you'll see Maine Force Development Program. And you can open that up, and what is available to everybody there is the current OI, listing of development opportunities, professional reading list, and the forms that we facilitate the program with. So the Form 3 is the application to come into the program. And that would be the first step. The airman would have to fill out that Form 3. It's not just the airman. Like I said, the supervisor plays a very critical role in this program. So the airman gets the form and fills it out. There's a lot of information on there. The more information on the Form 3, the better that the force development team can create a vector package for that airman. So basically what I'm talking about is the airman's going to state goals, short-term and long-term goals, military goals, career goals on that form. We also collect a lot of information on where they're at right now with their PME, with their upgrade level training, with their civilian education, with prior leadership experiences. We collect all that information on the form. And then an important part of that form is the supervisor is required to comment on what the airman has already put on there for goals. And it helps when the supervisor, hopefully they know their airmen best, it helps when the supervisor puts in information for the force development team to focus on. Here's an example. An airman might state, several goals. Maybe they want to be the command chief. Maybe that's their long-term goal. And they're well on their way there, maybe, with where they need to be. But the supervisor, when the supervisor comments in there, they said, Airman Smith's been working for me for quite a few years, and I think he could really use some help. This is where he could really gain a lot of growth, is in public speaking. And that is really helpful when the force development team looks at that Form 3, that application, to help draw these vector packages. And what I'm talking about by vector packages is the team gets together, the Maine Force Development team gets together, and like I say, we're 25 people.
Is it all 9Gs?
It's not all 9Gs, no. So it's a very diverse group. Most of them, either senior enlisted or I would say captains and above for officers. I mean, we have colonels, we have lieutenant colonels, we have almost every rank, but they're more senior. They all have a lot of experience. So
you may have already mentioned this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but like this isn't just enlisted.
This is across the board.
Wow.
This is across the board.
That's awesome.
This is for officer and enlisted.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
You may have said that, and it may have gone over my head, but I didn't. That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. No, this is a combined effort. We're all airmen, right? And that's what this is designed to do, is to develop our airmen into our future leaders.
That's awesome.
So the team, really, with 25 airmen right now, more people wanting to join the team. I did the math last week during our team meeting. We've got over 500 years of combined military experience on that team.
That's wild.
So when I talk about vector packages, what we're doing now, like any meeting, like any team, we don't all always meet every time, right? But we have a core group that meets every time, and then we have other members from the team that contribute. And in these meetings, we will take an airman's Form 3, their application, and go down through it so we completely understand what their goals are, what their supervisor's saying. The commander, their squadron commander, also has a place on the form. They at least have to sign and acknowledge this, but they can also add comments, and a lot of them have in the beta test, and those comments help. So we go down through and we look at this entire form, who we have for an airman right now, where they're at development-wise, the comments from the supervisor, the comments from the squadron commander. And as a team with all that experience, we look at that particular airman, and we probably spend an hour on each individual airman with all of our expertise and all of our eyes on it, and we start to build a somewhat prioritized list of development opportunities that we think that airman should take advantage of to be able to get them towards their goals. It's specifically tailored to them.
That's crazy. So who are you, I mean, can you tell me like who's on the board?
All of our 9Gs. Matter of fact, the program itself is facilitated by for each group through the 9G. Down at South Portland, down at the GSU, they don't have 9Gs per se, group superintendents per se, but we have 2 chiefs down there that are, for all practical purposes for this program, they are the 9Gs for South Portland. And the program is facilitated through the 9Gs, right? So when the airman fills out their Form 3 and they've got it done, they send it to their 9G. The 9G brings it to the rest of the team at the next meeting. Or they kick it back. They're going to look at it and say, no, I need more information. They're going to kick it back.
Yeah. Because, so if not enough information is provided, then it doesn't give you guys enough to work on, right?
We need a lot of information. The more information and the more accurate information we get, the better the vector package we can build.
So if you say, like, if I go, I'm Andy Sinclair and I want to be the command chief someday, then that's it, right? You're going to say, well, I need to know what you've done for PME. I want to know what your goals are. Have you got your degree? What's your short-term goals to get to that long-term goal? That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And but we've talked about mentorship and development and what it means. We've had a few tries at mentorship programs. Several years ago when I was a 9G in maintenance, the Chiefs Council came up with a mentorship program. And none of them really seemed to fit the bill. We needed something a little bit more structured, right? And that's exactly what this is. This is a structured force development program, airman development program, that is very tailored, very specific to every airman. We're putting a lot of time and effort into every individual airman because they deserve nothing less. Yeah. That's what mentorship and development is all about. So, but you asked who's on the team. It's the command chiefs. It's the 9Gs. There are representatives from every squadron, every group, the BEDM. There are several chiefs, other chiefs. It's across the board.
So if I got on there and I told you guys that my goal was to be an aviator someday, you guys have people on the board that can speak to that?
So here's the thing, right? I think operations group right now is really busy with a lot of new pilots and a lot of new boom operators coming in. We have Chief Poland, who's the 9G up there in ops. Right now, he's the only one from the operations group that's officially on the team. But what we do on the team is as we develop these packages, these vector packages for airmen, we're also going to assign initially 3 mentors to that every particular airman. Every airman's going to get 3 mentors assigned. Now, I'm not a big fan of assigned mentorship, right? It's like forced fun.
Right.
But we're going to start there. And when we meet with these airmen, and we physically meet eyeball to eyeball with every one of these airmen that comes into this program, we make sure they know it's complete flexibility with who they have for assigned mentors. We need at least one of their mentors to be a force development team member because they know the workings of this program, especially a new program. But for that airman that wants to be a pilot down the road, we're going to reach out. We're going to reach out to anybody in the state that we need to be this airman's mentor. And if you get an airman that comes in that says, hey, I want to be a pilot, how do I get there? Then we're certainly going to reach out to the operations group and we're going to ask one of their, probably one of their pilot trainers to say, hey, would you mind being a mentor for this airman who wants to be a pilot?
And they'd be foolish to say no.
And of course they're going to say yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily have to be a member of the force development team to become involved with this program. We're already doing it. We're reaching out to our local experts for what that airman needs and asking them to be mentors for these airmen. And so far, the people that we've done that with, they're very excited to be part of this. So who wouldn't want to help an airman out?
Well, why are you here if you're not here to make a difference?
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
What's the future of this program look like? What's the end goal?
So the end goal is to make sure that we're developing airmen, giving them the opportunities they deserve to develop them into the airmen and the people that they're going to need to be to meet tomorrow's challenges. That's the end goal. So, this program completely supports the Maine strategic plan, the Maine Air National Guard strategic plan, the National Defense Strategy. If you read both of those documents, the newer documents, this program is getting after what those documents require for our airmen. Yeah. So that's the end goal. Right now, with the beta test, this coming week we're scheduling a lot of meetings. So 14 people in this beta test. We're scheduling a lot of those face-to-face meetings within the next 2-week period. And then in June, we have a lot of our folks have a week training with the exercise going on over the drill, and then we have drills. So our goal for the beta test right now, this program, is to have everybody that came into the beta test fully accepted into the program, have met with every one of them, and off and running on pursuing their development opportunities and following those vector paths by the end of June drill.
That's awesome.
And I think we're on track to do that. And if we can do that, then I foresee this opening up to the rest of the state, hopefully at some point this fall, but definitely within FY22. So here's how the first one went, and it was really good. It's kind of interesting when you're doing this, and it's a brand new program, because we're learning it as we go. We're making it up, a lot of it as we go. So we met with the first airman, and who met with that airman was the airman. The airman supervisor needs to be in these meetings because they need to understand their responsibilities to the airman and to the program.
Plus, that supervisor is probably going to be around a little bit longer than you guys are going to be.
Right.
Right. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And the other big thing about the supervisor is, look, this program is great, but everybody and every airman coming into this program needs to understand that their AFSC, their PME, all that needs to come first, right? The mission comes first. So, and the supervisor needs to make sure that we're balancing that, right? So if we get an airman that comes into this program and goes head over heels with all these vectors that we've given them, maybe they need to be focusing on obtaining their 5 skill level more than what they're doing in this program right now. So that's where the supervisor has to step in and say, hey, look, we're going to put the Maine Force Development Program on hold for now. It's great, but put it on hold. I need you to get your skill level, right? So the supervisor needs to be that check that makes sure that we're keeping our priorities right, and our AFSC needs to come first. So when we met with that first airman, it was the airman, the supervisor, the BEDM was there, the 9G, their group superintendent, and I. And it was very powerful to see. This took about an hour, face-to-face meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to make sure that the airman understands, number one, what the program is, what their role in the program is. The same with the supervisor. Make sure they understand what the program is. It's new. We need to communicate it better and more to supervisors so they really understand what it is. And, so we spent about an hour with the first one that came through with that meeting. And it was really powerful. It was very humbling for that airman, I think, to understand, to all of a sudden be in that room and understand that that airman had 3 chiefs, a squadron commander, the BEDM, and one other person that was doing nothing but focusing on that airman for that hour. And making sure that they understood the vector packages, and making sure that that airman understood and the supervisor understood the priorities going forward. So very powerful when you get an airman that sees that and understands that all of these people have a lot of busy things and important things to be doing, but right now they're spending an hour with me.
Yeah, essentially they care. It shows that they care. They care, and it goes back to what we said earlier about retention. If I feel that I'm being undervalued, or that what I do on a day-to-day basis doesn't really matter because it's not being recognized or being noticed, or my needs aren't being noticed, then that's powerful that you guys that you guys are meeting with them. That's huge. So we talked about it being at like an 85 or 90% completion, still in that beta phase. What else needs to be done to kind of get it on more trials? We
need to get all these airmen fully rolling in it, all 14 airmen, and we'll probably realize some things we haven't even thought of yet. We're always learning. We have a growing list of development opportunities, right? And some of them are completely out of the box. And the other thing you got to realize is within these opportunities within our program is also our required PME, right? So all that stuff is wrapped in there. But a lot of other opportunities, some that people never really would have thought of for development opportunities. And that's always growing. So as we roll these 14 airmen into the beta, we're going to keep coming up with more development opportunities. And not only that, but state leadership this year really committed to airman development. They committed to this program because it does fully support our state strategic plan and the national defense strategy. They committed to it in a way of, we have a budget every year, right? And it's limited money, let's face it, every year. But this year, they committed, state leadership in the Air National Guard committed a line item on our budget, an enduring line item. There's not many of them. So when we start looking at the budget every year and where to put our money, there's a few line items there that are there every time. And now airman development is there. Wow. Force development is there. And we committed money to that this year.
That's cool.
And we will every year.
That's awesome.
So some of these development opportunities have a cost to them. A lot of them don't have any cost to them. Right? They're things we can do or we can do internally. But some of them do have costs associated with them, and now we have the ability to reach out and provide those to airmen. Hopefully our supervisors know their airmen best. So number one, they can provide a lot of information that can help us direct that airman towards their goals a lot better. But number two, like I said, they need to be the control, right? So their AFSC, the mission has to come first. Their primary duties have to come first. Even though one would argue that development is part of the mission and it is part of your primary duties, it is. But this program itself has to be secondary to those AFSC and mission priorities. And that supervisor is able to control that.
So what if you had a supervisor who, so you have to have, first of all, you got to have motivated airmen that want to take advantage of this program. And then you also have to have a motivated supervisor to like you said, that already knows their people to want to put them in for this program.
Right.
So that could probably be pretty challenging at times.
So, hey, another great thing about the program itself, right? It forces these conversations. So if you're a supervisor and you don't know anything about this, and an airman brings you the Form 3 and says, hey, sir, I really want to join this program, it's going to force you to, if you don't know anything about it, it's going to force you to learn more about the program, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also going to drag any, hopefully I don't think we have many supervisors now that would be reluctant to this. But it forces them to become involved in their airmen's development, which is where we want them. Yeah. So it's just another good thing about the program.
Yeah. How has this been receptive toward wing leadership other than you and Chief Nurowski, like with Colonel Gillis and Colonel Barassa?
Yeah, Colonel Gillis is actually on the team.
Oh, he is? Well, that's awesome.
He is.
That's cool.
And, wing leadership, state leadership has been very supportive of this. And, the comments that I hear a lot of is this has been a long time in coming. Mm-hmm. We've needed something like this for a long time. So, there's great support for it. One other thing that I didn't mention that is a huge part of this program, especially where 3/4 of our force are traditional guardsmen. Mm-hmm. So you may be thinking, as you're hearing about this program, you may be thinking, well, the full-time people have an advantage because they're there all the time and able to take more advantage of this program. Well, that's true in one respect, but a big part of this program is, we talk about multi-capable airmen, right? And I had this talk on a command chief meeting the other day. The Air Force is trying to build multi-capable airmen, but the Air National Guard has always had multi-capable airmen.
Yeah,
right?
That's kind of where we shine. Yeah.
Hey, because we've got people from all walks of life. Mm-hmm. We've got dentists, we've got doctors, we've got teachers, we've got everybody that I could point out a special skill set or a special knowledge that almost every one of our drill status guardsmen have that we can take advantage of in the fight. Right. So, we're full of multi-capable airmen. And this program highlights that in the respect that for anybody, drill status guardsmen or full-timers, we're able to bring into this program any development opportunity you've already taken advantage of or any leadership experience you've already taken advantage of in the civilian sector. Any certification you have, any degree you have, we'll build it into your development portfolio, which is something we haven't talked about yet, Andy. But drill status guardsmen and full-timers alike are able to bring development items like that from the civilian sector into this program and put it in their development portfolio. They have to go through their 9G, and I don't care if it's a welding certification, right? Yeah. It could be very useful. So say you come in and you say, hey, you talk to your 9G, I got a welding certification I'd like to include in my development portfolio. Your 9G will take that to the team and we'll look at it and we document the proof and we put it in your portfolio. And it just builds this development portfolio for every member. So every member that comes into this program has their own folder. And within that folder is their development portfolio. And everything they complete for development opportunities goes in there, right? So down the road, if that airman ends up going in front of a board for a promotion or a position, why not bring that portfolio with you? Because if I were interviewing you, and one of my questions would probably be, Andy, why do you think you're the best one for this position? Or why should we promote you over, so-and-so? Well, you're going to start telling me what you've done to prepare yourself, and why not have that portfolio there? I'd love to see that, something like that, and I'm sure I'd have a few questions for you when I start gazing through some of the opportunities you've done to deliberately develop yourself.
Right. Well, immediately, especially if it was you, immediately you're going to see that development portfolio and immediately know, or maybe your successor is going to sit there and say, yeah. Oh, this person took advantage of the main force development program.
Right.
And that in itself is initiative and shows motivation and
sure. And it's, don't get me wrong, it's certainly no guarantee of any future success, any future positions or promotion, but it can't hurt.
No. Why would it, so you bring up a good point with your civilian sector opportunities and training and certifications and whatnot. So I know one of the hot topics I've always heard, especially down in security forces, are the prior service guys and gals that come in where their PME doesn't count toward their Air Guard or Air Force PME. That's something they could add in there, like if I Marine Corps NCOA or whatever, and it just shows that you've done this, even though it may not count toward your progression PME-wise here,
right.
But it's one more way to show off, hey, I've already done Army NCOA or ALS or whatever they call it,
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that we haven't talked a lot about the development portfolio.
Right.
So you call it? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, that is basically what it is, right? It's a portfolio of all of your accomplishments. So anything within the program. And, as airmen roll into the program, they're going to start to knock off some of these development opportunities that we've kind of told them they should focus on for vectors, right? But they can look at the opportunities listing and do anything they want. Yeah. Even though the team may provide certain vectors, they can certainly do those. There's complete flexibility built within this program. But they can reach out and do other opportunities as well. So anything that they do comes back through the 9G to the team. It requires some sort of a certification or proof that this was completed. And, the team vets it and they put it in that airman's development portfolio. And it can be things that are have yet to be completed and are done, or it can be things that they've already done, right? So as we roll this program out, I fully expect that as airmen come into it, they're going to look at a lot of these development opportunities that we've assigned to them, or maybe not assigned to them, but that are on our development opportunities listing, and they're going to say, hey, I've already done that. Great. Let us know. We'll give you credit for it. We'll put it in your development portfolio. And the same with, any civilian development opportunities that they've already completed, or certifications or degrees they have. Yep. Just, show us the proof. Show us your certificate, whatever it was, or get the instructor to sign off on it, and we'll include that in your development portfolio. One of the big things we have is a reading list. So some of the things that we may require may take a little bit more work. If I ask you to read The Speed of Trust, the book The Speed of Trust, I would trust that you'd read it, Andy, but I want to know what you get out of it too.
Right.
So things like that to accomplish a reading would require maybe a paragraph or two of what you got out of that reading. And what you thought it meant to you as an airman. And we include that in your portfolio.
That's cool. And I guess that's one of my bigger questions, is this something is it continual? Can it do, 4 or 5 years from now, can I meet with you guys again?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Development never stops,
and update
right?
it? Yeah, that's cool.
We never hit perfection.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Excellence is striving for perfection, but you never get there. So
right.
You can always, the program never stops. Some airmen may need to put it on hold for a little while, potentially, but it's at their own pace. There's no pressure. There's complete flexibility, and a world of opportunity.
It sounds like this program is kind of here to stay. You guys are building it in a way that will be here for a long time. And it sounds like you're already setting up your successor for success with this program, because you're already building the foundation, the meat potatoes for them. And I would imagine that it's your guys' goal, especially if Colonel Gillis is on the board, his goal is to keep pushing this in the future for a while. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've never heard anything like it before. I never have. I mean, I've heard about it like in like a civilian aspect, like big companies, like big banks, or trying to develop people to move forward, but not here. I've never heard of something like this before, especially where you guys are devoting an hour of your time all at once to
one airman.
To one airman. That's awesome. That's huge.
But that's really the meat of the program, right? Having those airmen understand that we care about their development. We need them to get there. We need them to want to get there, and we need to meet those expectations to help them get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the end goal is that you guys have in your mind is that you're setting up the future for us, for everybody who's going to be here for a little bit longer.
That's right.
That's huge. You're not just looking at tomorrow or today. You're looking at 10, 20 years from now.
Absolutely. It's very deliberate, very tailored. When I look back through my 30-year career at my development and how I got where I am, I'm not quite sure how I got here, to be honest with you. And development is hit or miss. Now, I say I don't know how I got here, but I had some very good mentors along the way. But there were a lot of things that are in this program that I had no idea were even available to me, let alone how to attain them. And if I had back then, I'd have been a lot more prepared for where I find myself today. So that's really what it's all about, is giving every airman the opportunity to be their best.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, Chief. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I just, I would encourage airmen to consider this program, and you'll be hearing a lot more about it as we move through the beta, and as we really get the beta going. We'll be hearing a lot more about it. I'm actually briefing it tomorrow down at Joint Force Headquarters. So I would encourage airmen to strongly consider this. And you can start to see what the program is about. The OI, our OI, those other states' OIs were 40, 50 pages long. Mm-hmm. Ours is like 12.
Oh, wow.
And most of that is just responsibilities. If you actually go in there's only a couple of pages that explain, number one, the importance of force development and how this process actually works. And so it's a very quick read. And if any airman wants to go in and see what the program's about, they can go into that S-Drive, Force Development, and check it out for themselves.
Well, what you guys need is a button on the app specifically for Main Force Development.
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
And we could drop all the PDFs you guys have on there. You could have some guidance, some.
That's a great idea.
Some whatever, and that way, because I might be that DSG traveling from Calais or New Hampshire that may not have access to the shared drive, that I want to look into it during the month.
That's a great idea. Let's do that.
Right on your phone.
Yep.
That'd be huge. Well, yeah, no, I appreciate it, Chief, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, because that's reading 2618 and realizing that the Chiefs are here for us. Like, you guys are here for us. You're not here for yourselves, because you guys are going to be gone soon. No offense, but you are. You're here to set us up for success. And if you're not, why would I feel valued enough to be here?
That's right.
So I could go somewhere else, you know, and so the fact that you guys are taking the time to do this, and that you've developed this program, and it's not just for airmen, and for enlisted, and that's what blew my mind talking to you about this, was that it's also for officers. That's because everybody needs it. Yep. Everybody.
And again, that's the basis, right? I don't care if you're officer or enlisted, our PME, our required PME, that's just the basis for our development, right? So yeah, I mean, there are things in this program, there are development opportunities that are specifically for officers. Mm-hmm. There are those that are specifically for enlisted. Yeah. And but a vast majority of them are for everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I appreciate it, Chief. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, see you soon. Thanks again, Chief, for sitting down and doing that segment. There's a lot of good information there, but hey, do us a favor, take that information and spread it amongst your coworkers, friends, and family. Just help spread the word, please. This podcast is an informational tool to help, keyword help, disseminate information to the masses. As supervisors, commanders, or any leadership role, it doesn't matter. The ball is in your court to get the information to your work centers if they haven't already listened to this podcast. The difference between mere management and leadership is communication. According to Winston Churchill, that is. Help communicate the messages you hear in these podcasts. Okay, let's talk about recruiting and retention. We're going to try something new from here on out. Each episode will feature something recruiting and retention related, tidbits of knowledge, which, again, you need to pass along. Please and thank you. Before I jump into the R&R Fast Fact, I want to re-emphasize taking a minute to go out and hit that like button on the Maine Air National Guard Recruiting Facebook page. It takes 2 seconds to show them your support, so please go help them out. Like, follow, and share. The post-9/11 GI Bill transferability. Did you know you can transfer unused education benefits to immediate family members? It doesn't matter if you're an O-type, E-type, active guard, reserve, whatever. Your spouse and kids can benefit from utilizing your post-9/11 GI Bill. Pretty cool. So what that tells me is if I already have my degree and I don't plan on pursuing further education, I can transfer my benefits to anyone in my immediate family so they can further their education. Crazy. So let's say I have an 18-year-old getting ready to graduate high school, and I've tried everything I can to get them to join the unit, because remember, this is the best place to work in the world, and everyone is a recruiter. But say that 18-year-old has no desire to join, but would like to go to school. Does that mean I can transfer those bennies to that child? Yep. As long as I have at least 6 years of service and commit to an additional 4 years in order to transfer. My kid can take advantage of that. Nice. Get a hold of Master Sergeant Norm Stanton for more information. You can find his number on our app. So please, remember to like the recruiting page. Tell your friends and family to like it as well. All right, I want to give a quick shout out to Chief Master Sergeant Stan Yudorowski. He's been a chief for a little while now, but his promotion ceremony will be this weekend, so if you see him around, and I'm sure you will, be sure to congratulate him on his new rank and his new job title as our new Wing Command Chief. I've known him for a long time, like a really long time, and I can tell you that even though he recently put that 3rd chevron up top and added a star, he's been operating like a Chief Master Sergeant for quite a while, taking care of troops, putting their welfare first. Thanks, Chief, for all you do, and congrats. And that's all, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode and have some takeaways from Chief Osgood's message. Be sure to head over to our Facebook and Instagram pages and drop a like. We also have iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Divots. So if you're not on social media, there are other ways to stay in the know. Chief Osgood also has a Facebook page, and it's an official one. Head over there and take a look. Watch his video on accountability. If you ever have any questions or concerns about anything, don't be shy and send the Chief a message. He's here for all of us. I promise. I hope you all have a great drill and an outstanding month of May. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll see you all in June.